Tonight on Good News, Bad News, the Roe Casey Repeal, and now that the Guidestones in Georgia are gone, is the Marvel MCU real life? That and more coming up.
Welcome to Good News, Bad News, the Libertarian Christian Roundtable, where every other week we challenge the status quo and give you the libertarian Christian analysis of what's happening in your world.
Welcome back to Good News, Bad News, the Libertarian Christian Roundtable of the Libertarian Christian Institute. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Today we are down to just three of us tonight. I'm your host, Dr. Norman Horn. We also have the eminent Carrie Baldwin and the wonderful and strange Matthew Bellis. We're missing Aaron tonight. He is out with the flu, so give him some thoughts and prayers that are so effective, of course, and and so on. But hey, thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube, or give us a nice like and review or whatever in your favorite podcasting apparatus. Tonight we're going to talk about just a few quick topics. I think what is most on everybody's minds is that, frankly, that what happened just after we recorded our last episode. We were already excited about the Supreme Court session during 2 weeks ago, but shortly thereafter we got the big bombshell, and that was, of course, the Roe v. Wade and the Casey repeal. And we say that deliberately because it is a pretty big deal. In fact, I think it's worthy to note that we were on record, even in our book, saying, and we'll just admit this, that we said Roe will never get repealed. However,
boy, were we wrong.
I think,
I'm so glad we were wrong.
So glad we were wrong. So glad we were wrong.
Glad,
but,
yes.
But it's interesting, and I think a good way to kind of start this off is that part of the reason we thought that was going to be the case was because of Casey. And in fact, in retrospect, it's like, oh, now it makes perfect sense. Because you couldn't really repeal Roe without either dealing with Casey first or doing it simultaneously. And that is exactly what they did, is that the Supreme Court repealed the Casey decision in conjunction with repealing Roe, and that is the only way it made sense.
And frankly, I would suggest starting a new precedent in not relying on precedent.
Well, there are reasons to have precedents, right? But in this case, they made a very good justification in the write-up for why that precedent didn't need to take precedence here.
Yeah.
So,
well, they actually do a really good job of explaining why this was legislating from the bench.
What did I just hear praise from Carrie Baldwin?
Oh my!
Yeah.
Oh my word!
Oh my.
I was very skeptical in the beginning.
Yeah.
Very skeptical that they were going to screw this up because, well, that's what I've come to expect government to do, including judges. And so I started reading it, and I held my breath. But actually, they do a really great job of tearing apart the justification for deciding Roe. I think what's important to point out, though, is that they did not render any sort of decision about the personhood status or whether or not fetuses are protected by the 14th Amendment. Like, this isn't actually a pro-life ruling. It just opens the door for states who want to ban abortion to ban abortion. Mm-hmm. I will also say that it actually, if you understand what Roe v. Wade was and what Casey was, this equally opens the door for more liberal states to expand abortion.
Of course.
And so, everybody's focused on the fact that now states can ban abortion, but they're not paying attention to the other side of that coin, because what the court said was, this isn't our wheelhouse and we're not your trick monkey.
Yeah.
Go back to your legislatures
way.
and do this right. This is not our. Yeah. In fact, I was even commenting on Facebook. I think that this is even something that Ruth Bader Ginsburg would have supported. I think she would have been in the majority because she had always spoken against Roe in terms of it being a bad case. Mm-hmm. She didn't think that the court should have decided it. Now, she was obviously pro-choice, but she didn't think that Roe was good case law and shouldn't have been decided. So it's actually a pretty neutral sort of thing. They just kick it back to the states. That's it. And yeah, I think it's
Which
Well, let's
I don't know
note-
if a lot of people know this, though, but a lot of the states, whenever the ruling came down, I shouldn't say a lot, but quite a few had trigger laws in place to already ban abortions, like Kentucky, Louisiana, South Dakota had something.
Missouri,
Texas. Texas had a 30-day in effect. Tennessee as well. I mean, there's a lot of states that we could go down, but we won't. But already have that in the books, waiting for this decision to just come down. So yeah, in many states it was a win for pro-life, but it does change the precedence setting from here on out, I think.
It totally changes the dynamics, and because like you said, what people seemingly, I think the pro-choice advocates are, predictably, and as I've written this in a couple places, like they were predictably they went apoplectic, and they were totally hilarious while doing it.
By the way, Kerry, I don't know if you know this, but you have fewer rights than an AK-47. So. Please,
Well,
hey,
the next time you think about you're going to go on a plane and take a ride, no.
But
it's ridiculous. I will say
must be escorted by a U.S. Marshal for being a woman.
Okay.
Oh man,
You are
There's your lady parts.
I will say there is a crap ton of fear mongering coming from the left, and it's really, and man,
even just within the first 24 hours. But please continue.
Well, it's frustrating because it's actually like I've had conservative Christian women coming to me, private messaging me, saying, "Is this true?" Like they're not only saying that you can't have an abortion, but now we're not going to get our miscarriages treated in the hospital, and we're not going to have our ectopic pregnancies dealt with, and now this is gonna, like, they are attacking this as though our entire reproductive health is now second class. It's unimportant, and
it is now regulated, which it is not.
That it is not. Yes, that
Right.
it is now regulated and suppressed. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they keep on, oh my gosh, they keep on talking about Clarence Thomas's concurrence, because in his concurrence he says, hey, now that we're reevaluating things and not looking at this legislating from the bench sort of stuff, we should take a look at these these cases regarding contraception and gay marriage and so forth. This is a concurrence. There's no legal standing. It's not legally binding. And the majority decision explicitly said, this doesn't apply to contraception. This doesn't apply to gay marriage. This is only about abortion. They were very careful to say, this is about one issue and one issue alone.
So they're seizing upon this in a very particular way, which is also very funny, because imagine what it would take in order to get a case to like the Supreme Court justices can't just make up something and turn it into a case and then overturn whatever they want. That's not the way it works, right?
Right.
First, the case has to be brought to state courts, and then it has to keep going to higher and higher courts until eventually it is brought to the Supreme Court.
Right.
So in order for that to occur, you'd have to have somebody going from the lowest levels or whatever, and to, maybe they could skip to some level. Who knows? I don't know. But they first have to try something like, okay, we're going to ban contraception in the state of Missouri. Do you know what the probability of that actually is from a state level? The probability is 0.
Yeah.
It's not even wrong, as they would say in physics and whatnot. It's like,
although we have been wrong before.
To be fair, the more militant wing of the pro-life movement or anti-abortion movement, they are opposed to contraception.
All
Hormonal
forms?
contraception. Hormonal contraception.
Yeah. I just don't think that you could reasonably maintain that argument in a court of law. And there's no way, like, if if the majority of states in the United States are now accepting of gay marriage, for instance, the courts,
Right.
that is, not the people, the courts, it's just not even possible. That's not a feasible thing to expect to have happen. And
Yeah,
you're not
well,
going to see it legislated from the Congress either.
the other thing is these trigger bans that are in place, they're not like universally identical. There's some that have banned it outright, like no abortion at all. But a lot of these trigger bans still have a a span of time. So like 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever. Now maybe they go back and change that and ban it completely. But even if you could take the strictest view of contraception, which is that it can sometimes act as an abortifacient, which is the argument.
Yeah.
It still falls within that, the first 2 weeks, and wouldn't fall within the time span that is set by even some of these trigger bans. So all that to say is the fear mongering going on, and saying that this is attacking every aspect of reproductive health is absurd. The other thing I want to point out is that somewhere along the way, they changed the definition of an abortion. It used to be the termination of a pregnancy. Now it's just the end of a pregnancy. So that I'm going to
Who's
going to
changing?
write
Okay,
in-
now you got my.
Here's the thing. Do you know who's been in charge of writing sex education curriculum for public schools?
Maybe, I don't know, the Department of Education? No.
Planned Parenthood.
Oh, what do you know?
Oh, interesting.
Planned Parenthood. So they've done this because they want to normalize the word abortion. What's a miscarriage?
Oh
a
man,
naturalistic
so they're gonna define
abortion,
a
so to
miscarriage
speak.
as
Yeah.
abort. That's why they're getting
So
crazy.
that's why they actually
Yeah.
call it they are
Jeepers.
renaming miscarriage spontaneous abortion.
I mean,
This has actually been
This is-
around, I'd say, for about 10 years, this language, but now it's entrenched. Thank you, public schools. It's now entrenched. And so it's confusing a lot of people because they
Yeah.
think, oh, I mean, technically, if abortion is the end of a pregnancy, birth also falls under that because
Yeah.
that's at the end of a pregnancy.
I mean, it's not in. It is.
No, because within the word abortion, there is a specified intent.
Yeah, now, especially now in the way we define it.
They're also when they talk about when they talk about taking the abortion pill, they don't talk about it in terms of, okay, it's going to starve your fetus, because that's what it does. It starves and suffocates the fetus. It says this is the first step to ending your pregnancy, and then you take misoprostol, and that's the second step to ending your pregnancy. That's it. It's very sterile, sanitized language, so that it's not knocking up against your conscience that you're actually killing something. And so at any rate, you have an ectopic pregnancy, they think, oh, I'm going to have to end this pregnancy because this is dangerous to my life. I need to have an abortion because an abortion means end a pregnancy. That's where that's where all this confusion, well, part of it, it's part of where all of this confusion is coming from. And it's freaking women out, and they need, frustrates me.
Well, that's just makes our job even more secure in trying to bring truth. Although I would have to say, finding out or seeing some people figure out what's actually been going on here has really really illuminated the fact that not a whole lot of people understand federalism or separation of states. They believe that we just live separation of powers. They believe that we live on a monarchical or at least an oligarchical society, that whatever one people or one person says is what goes. And it's just it's been a little entertaining, but also very sad. So.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe there's still something to the oligarchical, but it's not some sort of dictatorship of the Supreme Court. I mean, come on.
Right.
At least that's what they were saying from the Supreme Court.
Yeah, right.
So,
Well, and I'm sure that there are people who would love for that to be the case.
yes.
Yeah, when it's their people.
When it's their people.
But-
Yep.
So one other point probably worthy of note is that there were some differences between at least our understanding of the leaked opinion that came out a couple months ago and that which was the final result. One, which we've sort of alluded to, but we'll make more explicit, is that we keep saying that the role of legislating now goes back to the states, but technically speaking, and that was what we thought like it was only in the leaked opinion. And the reading of that was based on people that we knew and trusted and so on. But it does turn out that when you do dig into the opinion a little more, it does leave the door open for Congress to do something as well. It'll be interesting to see, of course, if they try it, whether it's doable and then whether it would not get challenged very quickly on a federalism basis, potentially even at the Supreme Court level. That's an interesting question as to what will be held up in the future in this regard. But they did say very explicitly in the opinion that abortion is now an issue for the people and their representatives to be legislated upon by the states or in Congress. So we know at least that the expectation is there will be more to come in the future. And what kind of struck me by even on the day of was that in many respects, not only is this something that like essentially this opinion stated what Ron Paul had basically been saying for years when he was in office and before even while he was running for president in 2008 and 2012, and that is that this is an issue that can be legislated upon both at the state level and at the national level. And the fact is that the Republican Party, which claims to be so pro-life, is basically not doing its job, and that's the accusation. So those people out there who believe that the Republican Party is the bastion of freedom and whatnot, no, hang on, you have been lied to, you are being manipulated, and it is for the benefit of the politicians and not the causes that you claim to support. Right. And that's something I think it should, in many respects be remembered then as that this is kind of the denouement in many respects of the Republican Party's failure here, or at least it is some sort of apex point.
It's their time to show up at least.
I want to make a point about the Republicans because, to your point, even Norm, one of the biggest grievances that pro-lifers have been against Republicans. And, on this very show, on the round table, I pointed out how the vast majority of Supreme Court cases regarding abortion were most of them, vast majority, decided by a conservative majority court. Yeah. So, one thing that I do want to emphasize and hit home and say to as many libertarians as I possibly can is we do need to pay attention to what this legislation, what the ban legislation looks like state to state, because it can be different, it can change, and we live in a world now that has completely normalized the tough on crime mentality. Joe Biden's, war on drugs, tough on crime, we're going to throw the book at them sort of criminal justice that not only doesn't work for other violent crimes, it doesn't produce deterrence. Yep. It does not lower recidivism rates. It is expensive and it doesn't help the victims in the slightest, right? And libertarians should take this moment as an imperative not to try to legalize abortion in these states that want to ban it, but take it as an imperative to go reform the criminal justice system in those states. This is the time to do it. Yep. Is get in and start making those adjustments.
I'm gonna go sidebar for a second and do an unplanned thing.
Really, is that a pun? Because
Oh, okay, that was a slip. Okay, well, no, we're not having a fourth child. But no, but just thinking about the war, like tough on crime and police reform or like justice system reform. I just watched David Simon's new show that came out on HBO Max recently called "We Own This City," and it is actually based on a true story about the police corruption in Baltimore. And I'm not going to you say that this is some sort of PG thing. Watch it with your kids. It is not. Do not do that. It's a bad idea. But it's really interesting. And by the end of it, you do get a lot of like there's some pretty good like diatribes, if you will, talking about like what's going to happen here as a result of the supposed reform that's coming down the pipes. And they kind of show like, and this is all eventually they talk, I mean, it's based on a true story. All the characters are actually like real people, or who they were based on real people. All the events that, or at least the end results, did happen, and a lot of the background stuff as well. So it's interesting, in that respect. It is an adult show. Go into it with the eyes wide open in that respect. But the point is like, yeah, the war, like, we more than ever we need to see justice system reform. Hopefully, this is a good impact to get there.
Right.
All right. Well, so that's a wrap on that part. But kind of leading straight into like in the background of all of this is that there is a lot of there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of distrust. There's a lot of unrest in people's minds with regards to the institutions that we all know and love. And a new report recently came out that Carrie brought to our attention that I think she's going to explain.
Yeah, there you go. Right there. This is a new Gallup poll that came out July 5th. And basically all of the confidence ratings for the vast majority of institutions associated with the government have declined drastically. You got Congress way down there at the bottom at just 7% confidence.
With a -5 change from last year to this year. Crazy.
Television news is only at 11. Thank you, fact checkers.
Yes,
good job, guys. You did it.
Good job.
You did it. You ruined cable news.
Speaking of the criminal justice system, system, we have no confidence in it. I would just like to say that is Joe Biden's legacy. Is the criminal justice system. He was drug warrior #1 in the 90s.
He was.
I mean, that guy was totally into law and order. Let's stop the drugs.
I gotta say, Republicans should be repealing these laws just on the basis that they hate Joe Biden. Like, go with that.
Yep.
The presidency is at 23. The Supreme Court is only
Dropped
at 25.
15 points.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Banks are at 27. I tweeted out that if people knew the connection between banks and our government, it would probably be as low as Congress.
Organized labor hanging in there at 28%.
Yeah.
Good job, organized labor.
I'm a little disturbed by the confidence that we have in our military and police, but but I do want to point out we've got some great confidence in small business, which is, pretty awesome.
You want to sell stuff on Etsy? I believe in you.
Yeah. So go start a business because somebody's likely to trust you more than they trust Congress.
Wow.
I love it.
That's interesting. So overall, what in some respects what we're seeing is that there's just a greater sense of distrust from people to people, period.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, institutions are different than individuals but they are made up of individuals per se.
Yep.
And so, okay, what do you think this means for the kind of mid and long term, Carrie?
I don't know. They do have a breakdown with parties. You have Republicans, Independents, and Democrats. I don't know if this is somehow indicative of any sort of red wave that might be coming in the midterms. I know that the Republicans are hoping for that.
Yeah.
But what I see is whatever voters are hanging on to the two-party system, I would call that population, compared to the middle ground people who are just tired of all the crap. I would call them fringe. I think that there's relatively few people who are actually clinging to their party politics at this point. I think everybody's frustrated. I think, and that's what these numbers show. The confidence in major portions of government that are supposed to be legitimate portions of government, the court, the criminal justice system, and Congress, are at all-time lows. And
this is interesting. Republicans have a increased trust in large technology companies.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah,
Something seems a bit off there.
Error on that one.
Yeah, that seems strange.
Actually, what I find most potentially interesting about this, about this kind of this data, and if you stick on that chart for one more second,
okay,
highlight the line for organized religion. And
yeah,
note
I saw that.
how there actually is there's a decrease in confidence in the church or organized religion with Republicans and independents.
Yeah.
Largely a large one, 10% drop, nominal
Right.
percentage points, representing almost a 30% drop in total there. But in independence for the church, but the Democrats basically were solid on it. In other words, they stayed the same, even though they have the lowest nominal percentage to begin with.
Right.
So that's really interesting, and I kind of want to dig into that a little for a minute.
I would guess that is a consequence specifically of the scandals in the Southern Baptist Convention.
Really? Okay.
And the issues that have come up around abuse and women in the church, not even necessarily like women's ordination, although that's connected. But the SBC is the largest denomination in the United States, and they have been taking fire because lots of people are coming out with reports of abuse. They just came out this year with some sort of investigative report that actually delineates all the abuse problems that they've had in that denomination, and there are more reports coming in. So I would venture to guess that the decrease in confidence in the church has a large part to do with that.
Yeah, and correspondingly, you might also throw in there, the scandal surrounding Hillsong, huge mega church, multi-campus sort of thing, as well as, quite honestly, like the Ravi Zacharias scandal was a pretty big deal.
Yeah, and that goes hand in glove with this abuse thing that's happening with SBC.
And there's been a split that has really taken hold this year within the United Methodist Church, which I think goes to show it as well. So a confidence in the denominational system has definitely been shaken.
That's interesting. Well, Al Mohler, if you're listening, you can give me a call, and I'll be a shoulder to cry on. Honestly, if Al called, I would 100% pick up and say, "Hey, man, what's up?" But
fall over, I'm sure.
But it's an inside joke for LCI
we love you, Al.
insiders. There, so you go.
God bless you, sir.
Keep it up, man.
I just wish he loved us.
Oh, well, you'll get there someday. Well, all right, and of course, moving on though to the in the news of the weird section. I guess I believe that we are getting kind of.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and now we're entering the twilight zone.
Yeah.
But it does appear that the world is turning into the Marvel MCU, and that Thanos may be incoming, because apparently the Guidestones have fallen. I didn't know what this was until Matt brought it to my attention. I'm still not sure if I'm supposed to really care, but Matt is going to do his best at this point in time to convince me. So Matt,
the New World Order, the New World Order has been at the forefront of all of our lives.
Oh,
They have
okay.
been mingling in every single step, and the thing that has guided them to that point has been, bum, 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 the Georgia Guidestones. Yes, folks, this is the Georgia Guidestones of what they actually look like. Intimidating. No. Was. Thank you.
Yes.
Was. As you can see, this is made of 4 slabules with atop another slabule, and betwixt all of them a skinnier slabule.
Okay.
Of stone, written in different languages.
There's
And they
some
have
Greek up
different
there.
guiding principles. Yeah, they've got all kinds of stuff on there that are interesting. But we can go over what these say. But unbeknownst to many people, the NWO, or the New World Order, not the wrestling faction, but the NWO has been dealt a fatal blow, folks. Are you
That's
ready
right.
for it? Kaboom! In the middle of the night.
No way.
In the middle of the night, they spontaneously combusted. Or was it this
There's
guy?
another angle.
It was probably this guy.
Oh.
Whoever that car was,
Well-
who can't find the gravel or the road and is driving
Very
on
clearly.
grass. Kaboom!
Okay.
That's
So what did these things say? Like, why am I supposed to care that Georgia has these things?
It's a mysterious guidestone here.
Okay, well,
Norman.
what is that?
What
do they
you
say?
don't understand is that it showed up. It just showed up.
They're
When?
stones that guide.
What do you?
There's stones that just showed up in a place called Elberton. Yes, Elberton, Georgia, which is in Elbert County. It's kind of like, some guy was standing around saying, "What's your town's name?" And they're like, Elberton, Georgia.
Okay.
And they just showed up mysteriously. Nobody knows who put them there. Nobody knows why they're put there. But they have this inscription on them to guide humanity over our next millennia. And it was written in these different languages: English, Spanish, Swahili, Hindi, Hebrew, Arabic, traditional Chinese,
when were
and
these built?
Russian.
When did they show up?
1980.
1980.
2 years
Okay.
before I was born. Coincidence? No.
Yes.
But it had certain guiding principles on it. There were 10. Give you an idea of where they got that idea. But there were 10 guiding principles on these stones written in these different languages, and they had some pretty innocuous type of things like rule passion, faith, and tradition, all things with tempered reason. And protect people and nations with fair laws and just courts. And let
very
all nations
reasonable.
rule internally, resolving external disputes in a world court, which is kind of, a little
weird. All right,
weird. Avoid petty laws and useless officials, which we all would agree
All right,
with.
all right.
Balance personal rights with social duties, which is, kind of poopy. Prize
said
truth,
duties.
beauty, love, seeking harmony with, not God, the infinite.
Okay.
Be not a cancer on the earth, Norman. Don't you dare do it. Leave room for nature. Leave room for nature.
Yes.
Leave room.
They also want to unite humanity with a living new language, which they tried to do with Esperanto, and that didn't work. But they had two points on here which were the most controversial. Are you ready?
Okay.
Maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature,
Oh,
Leave
really?
room for
and
nature.
guide reproduction wisely.
Did they forget a zero?
Improving fitness and diversity.
What if they missed a zero on that? What if they meant 5 billion?
No,
You
they
mean-
meant 500,000.
You mean
but
like the
they
Aztecs?
got a little
500
too
million.
ready.
That's a big difference. That's 3
500
zeros.
million.
I think I bet you they missed a zero.
They missed 2 zeros and meant 50 billion. 50 billion people.
Their chisel got worn out.
So, as you might understand, though, these guideposts, these guidestones, have been a topic of constant conversation.
Oh, yeah.
Within the conspiracy
So
theory
much
circles.
So much
that-
so that I was well aware of this only 1 hour ago.
Well, and here's the thing: you are a well-reasoned individual that takes truth and reason and lives in harmony with them.
With the leaving
so
room
you
for
are
nature.
in your leaving room for nature. You're doing a very,
But
very good job without
they're-
the Guidestones, mind you.
They're hiding in plain sight.
They're hiding in plain sight, yes, but the NWO is not.
Oh, does
And
this mean the Great
today-
Reset is over?
The Great Reset's done. Agenda
blew up the
21
Guidestones.
and 30 have been dealt a fatal blow.
You mean we
Guts
destroyed
are
their
spilling out on the-
destroyed their instruction manual?
We've
They can't do
destroyed
it
their
now.
God, and their God has been left wanting.
Are we sure that that they weren't blasting some
Leftover
Ride of the
fireworks.
Valkyries or something when they blew it up? Kind of like V for Vendetta style.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. Yeah, here's Tchaikovsky for you. Which is funny though. I look at this, and especially number 2, guide reproduction wisely, improving fitness and diversity. Folks, we were only 35 years away from the Second World War. Did we learn nothing from the Nazis?
Right.
Good night. But that was the New World Order for you, and they are
Did they forget
done.
a period there or something? Say we're gonna do reproduction wisely, and then improve fitness. Yeah, everybody get fit, and then, while you're at it, work on diversity.
Yeah, there is
Norm is going
hyphen.
with they stink at grammar.
That's what we're going with. And numbers, apparently.
And then
Yeah.
translated it into other languages.
So I'm just saying, hey, freedom rings.
I bet. I mean,
And booms.
the guy,
And booms.
the eminent philosopher that must have come up with this, obviously was not a stonecutter. So he probably
was a
had to
stoner.
hire it out, right? So he had to write it down, and then the stonecutter was the one who made the mistake.
That's
Forgot the
probably true.
period. Forgot the extra zero.
Or the Masons.
Ooh, because they
Whoa,
were
whoa.
stone cutters.
Stand
They were
corrected.
stonecutters. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see how that whole interaction went down. Like maintain humanity, man. 500 million. 500 million is right. Yeah. Yeah.
That sounds.
perpetual
That's
balance.
what's the population of the?
I
It can't
don't
be
know.
500 million.
I really
mean,
like the
yeah, right.
idea. I really like the idea of just potheads sitting in a circle saying, "Man, we need our own Stonehenge.
We should just do it.
Just do
We
it.
should just do it. Yeah,
But it
man.
should say something."
We're gonna stop off at the gas station, get some Cheetos, and then do our own Stonehenge.
That sounds very plausible. I mean,
It happened.
well,
It happened.
all right.
And no more.
Well, rest assured, we are not out to write yet another set of 10 Commandments on stone. We think that probably the ones we have are pretty good.
The first 10 were good enough.
The first ones nailed it.
A-okay. Good job, God.
Good job, God. Yep, we approve. We approve. All right. Well, that is all for today, folks. We hope you enjoyed that. Again, please like and subscribe if you're here on YouTube. Let us know what you like about this in the comments, or send us a message at podcast@libertarianchristians.com if you have something you want to say, question you want to ask, or something you'd like to see from us sometime. Or if you just want to say, Matt, you're awesome, or something like that. I know
It's more likely, Matt, you're loathsome.
Yeah,
So,
well, something or another. But one last thing I would like to point out, because I kind of forgot to mention this earlier. We talked about the Roe Casey repeal, and there is an upcoming awesome podcast episode
That's right.
with Carrie Baldwin and none other than the eminent Mike Meharry of the Godarchy website, and he's also with the 10th Amendment Center. They do a whole rundown of the Roe Casey repeal and a whole lot more. And so make sure you go to our main podcast, the Libertarian Christian Podcast, which you'll find on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you like to listen to your podcast. Check it out. And I know it is going to be fantastic. So until next time, we hope that you'll come and check us out again. Again, this is Good News, Bad News. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.